Hello, so this is a quick video on how to track Ajax-based forms within the powers of Tag Manager and then push the data from those forms into analytics so that we can use them to track the form submissions as goals and capture any sort of corresponding information with that. I'll try and run through this demonstration as quick as possible. There's quite a few different steps to it, so hopefully it's something, with it being a video, that you can quickly refer back to at different stages. So I'm just going to go into my my Tag Manager workspace, have a quick look at my tags. This video is going to assume that you've already got analytics set up and connected and reporting correctly. We're going to build on that and extend via the tags that we're just about to create. So the example I'm going to give is how to track contact form 7 submissions, specifically when we're using contact form 7 as an Ajax submission. So you see on our sort of Sculpt website, we have quite a few different forms here. It's still in development, so there might be a few little bugs, but ultimately we want to be able to track all these different forms without having to set up tracking each and every time. It's just not going to be efficient to do that. It's quite common across sort of lead generation websites. You'll have sort of multiple forms, and this is quite a good way to track them. Similarly, we're giving Contact Form 7 as an example because it's one of the most popular contact form plugins and one of the most popular CMSs, so it kind of makes sense to use that, but the principles can be applied to sort of any Ajax-based form with either plugin for WordPress or sort of native functionality that you might develop yourselves. So the first tag we're going to add, I'm going to create a new tag. I've already created one here, which is a custom HTML tag. So when you get your list of options as to what the tag type is, you want to select custom HTML. So copy and paste the code that I'll supply on the blog post, but in essence what this code is doing is looking for the DOM event that Contact Form 7 publishes, which is WCF7 mail sent. You can see here on the Contact Form 7 documentation, there's a list of different DOM events you can use. We're using mail sent ultimately because we know that the form's been completed successfully without error, and an email has been sent, which is really important because obviously if there's sort of errors during the form, just to use something like submit, it's essentially when somebody's clicked the submit button, which they may do multiple times if there's been errors in the form. Once we've created and added this code, it's going to fire an event called CF7 submission, which we're going to use. It's going to give us the form ID from the different contact forms, and it's going to give us the full response, all the sort of fields associated with the form as well, which obviously you have to be quite careful with because it will publish the email address into the data layer as well. But obviously we don't want to use that, capture it, or push it into analytics. It's against their policies. We want to trigger this tag on every single page. It's an event listener, so we need to listen on every single page, see what contact forms are there and the interactions with them. So once we've saved that, we're actually going to head over and create a new trigger, which is called, I've just labeled it as form submission. So you can see here, it's a custom event. So again, scroll down, sort of create a new custom event trigger. Going to label that as, if you remember in the code, CF7 submission. So we're going to listen out for that event, and we're going to use that as a trigger to say that a form submission has occurred. We're then going to create a new variable, which is our form ID. It's one of the sort of variable pieces of data we want to capture. So here the labeling for the data layer variable name, which is a type of variable, as you'll see down here, that we can capture, is form ID, all lowercase apart from the I, which is capitalized. So important to remember that. I spent for ages trying to work out why this wasn't working a few months back, and it was because of this capital I, which was quite frustrating at the time. Once we've created that variable, we're gonna save that and head back over and create a new tag, which is our form submission. So this is essentially where the magic happens, so to speak. We're going to capture all of those variables and that data that we've just told it to listen out for, and then we're going to push it into analytics. So we're going to create a new Google Analytics tracking tag. Again, sort of from the default options within Tag Manager, just select Universal Analytics Tracking Tag. hopefully, if obviously you already got that set up, it'll have your analytics ID as a variable as well. So we're going to create a track type, which is event. The category can be whatever you want to call it. Form submission is fairly self-explanatory, so I'm happy just to use that. We're going to create an action, which is the form ID, and this is where we're going to pull in the contact form 7 form ID variable that we created just a minute ago, which is essentially going to enable us to differentiate between different forms. The label, I usually capture the page URL, really useful for me to then run some analysis to see what URL these form submissions occurred on, and obviously then trying to either optimize them or improve pages where form submissions aren't happening. But you can pull in multiple pieces of data, individual pieces of data, whatever's more meaningful for you. You can pull into that label field and use it how you wish. Obviously, you'd go ahead and save this tag, submit everything. It's important to preview this before you do submit it, but it's something that I've already previewed and know is working, so I'm happy to just sort of go ahead and submit that. If we now head over to our Sculpt website, probably see that there's multiple different contact forms that exist. So I'm just going to try this one. See, I've already sort of tested and filled it out. We're going to have the live preview on for our tag manager so that we can see what's occurred. So if I fill this out, just put some sample details in there, initiate the contact button. If we bring up our debugger, we'll see that we've got CF7 submission that has occurred. And we'll be able to see the contact form ID, which is 617, the event, and all of our Google Analytics settings, and the page URL that it's also passed over. So we should, in theory, now see all of that existing analytics. So if I go into GA, you can see there's one visitor on the site, staging sites, which is just limited to me at the minute. If you go over to events, we should be able to see the data from that form submission existing here, which we can see. You can see it's pulled through as a form submission as a category, and it's got the action of 617, which is our form ID, and you can see it's pulled through the URL that we completed that form on as well. And obviously from here, you can use that event-based data to create goals, obviously sync them into things like AdWords. Obviously, you can start getting an understanding of the performance of the site. So, as I said, these steps can easily be replicated for various different types of Ajax forms, whether it be gravity forms or anything else. This example is just for contact form 7, but hopefully you'll find that of use. And obviously, if you do have any questions, feel free to get in touch with us and we can help you track anything across the site that you will find useful.